Chapter 3, Part 2 of The Water Babies, by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Corey Samuel. But one day Tom had a new adventure. He was sitting on a water-lily leaf, he and his friend the dragonfly, watching the gnats dance. The dragonfly had eaten as many as he wanted, and was sitting quite still and sleepy, for it was very hot and bright. The gnats, who did not care the least for their poor brother's death, danced a foot over his head quite happily, and a large black fly settled within an inch of his nose, and began washing his own face and combing his hair with his paws, but the dragonfly never stirred, and kept on chatting to Tom about the times when he lived under the water. Suddenly Tom heard the strangest noise up the stream, cooing and grunting and whining and squeaking, as if you had put into a bag 2 stock doves, 9 mice, 3 guinea pigs, and a blind puppy, and left them there to settle themselves and make music. He looked up the water, and there he saw a sight as strange as the noise, a great ball rolling over and over down the stream, seeming one moment of soft brown fur, and the next of shining glass. And yet it was not a ball, for sometimes it broke up and streamed away in pieces, and then it joined again, and all the while the noise came out of it louder and louder. Tom asked the dragonfly what it could be, but of course with his short sight he could not even see it, though it was not 10 yards away. So he took the neatest little header into the water, and started off to see for himself. And when he came near, the ball turned out to be 4 or 5 beautiful creatures, many times larger than Tom, who was swimming about, and rolling, and diving, and twisting, and wrestling, and cuddling, and kissing, and biting, and scratching, in the most charming fashion that was ever seen. And if you don't believe me, you may go up to the Zoological Gardens, for I am afraid that you won't see it nearer, unless perhaps you get up at 5 in the morning, and go down to Cordery's Moor, and watch by the great Withy pollard which hangs over the backwater, where the otters breed sometimes, and then say if otters at play in the water are not the merriest, lithest, gracefullest creatures you ever saw. But when the biggest of them saw Tom, she darted out from the rest, and cried in the water language sharply enough, "Quick, children, here is something to eat indeed!" and came at poor Tom, showing such a wicked pair of eyes, and such a set of sharp teeth in a grinning mouth, that Tom, who had thought her very handsome, said to himself, "Handsome is that handsome does," and slipped in between the water-lily roots as fast as he could, and then turned round and made faces at her. "Come out," said the wicked old otter, "or it will be worse for you." But Tom looked at her from between 2 thick roots, and shook them with all his might, making horrible faces all the while, just as he used to grin through the railings at the old women when he lived before. It was not quite well bred, no doubt, but you know Tom had not finished his education yet. "Come away, children," said the otter in disgust. "It is not worth eating after all. It is only a nasty eft, which nothing eats, not even those vulgar pike in the pond." "I am not an eft," said Tom. "Efts have tails." "You are an eft," said the otter very positively. "I see your 2 hands quite plain, and I know you have a tail." "I tell you I have not," said Tom. "Look here." And he turned his pretty little self quite round, and sure enough, he had no more tail than you. The otter might have got out of it by saying that Tom was a frog, but, like a great many other people, when she had once said a thing she stood to it, right or wrong. So she answered, "I say you are an eft, and therefore you are, and not fit food for gentlefolk like me and my children. You may stay there till the salmon eat you." She knew the salmon would not, but she wanted to frighten poor Tom. "Ha, ha! They will eat you, and we will eat them." And the otter laughed such a wicked, cruel laugh, as you may hear them do sometimes, and the first time that you hear it you will probably think it is bogies. "What are salmon?" asked Tom. "Fish, you eft, great fish, nice fish to eat. They are the lords of the fish, and we are the lords of the salmon." And she laughed again. We hunt them up and down the pools, and drive them into a corner, the silly things. They are so proud, and bully the little trout and the minnows, till they see us coming, and then they are so meek all at once, and we catch them. But we disdain to eat them all. We just bite out their soft throats, and suck their sweet juice. Oh, so good!" And she licked her wicked lips. "And then throw them away, and go and catch another. They are coming soon, children, coming soon. I can smell the rain coming up off the sea. And then hurrah for a fresh, and salmon, and plenty of eating all day long." And the otter grew so proud that she turned head over heels twice, and then stood upright half out of the water, grinning like a Cheshire cat. "And where do they come from?" asked Tom, who kept himself very close, for he was considerably frightened. "Out of the sea, Eft, the great wide sea, where they might stay and be safe if they liked. But out of the sea the silly things come into the great river down below, and we come up to watch for them, and when they go down again we go down and follow them. And there we fish for the bass and the pollock, and have jolly days along the shore, and toss and roll in the breakers, and sleep snug in the warm dry crags. Ah, that is a merry life too, children, if it were not for those horrid men." "What are men?" asked Tom, but somehow he seemed to know before he asked. "Two-legged things, Eft. And now I come to look at you, they are actually something like you if you had not a tail." She was determined that Tom should have a tail. "Only a great deal bigger, worse luck for us, and they catch the fish with hooks and lines, which get into our feet sometimes, and set pots along the rocks to catch lobsters. They speared my poor dear husband as he went out to find something for me to eat. I was laid up among the crags then, and we were very low in the world, for the sea was so rough that no fish would come in shore. But they speared him, poor fellow, and I saw them carrying him away on a pole. All he lost his life for your sakes, my children, poor dear obedient creature that he was." And the otter grew so sentimental, for otters can be very sentimental when they choose, like a good many people who are both cruel and greedy, and no good to anybody at all, that she sailed solemnly away down the burn, and Tom saw her no more for that time. And lucky it was for her that she did so, for no sooner was she gone than down to the bank came 7 little rough terrier-daws, snuffling and yapping and grubbing and splashing, in full cry after the otter. Tom hid among the water-lilies till they were gone, for he could not guess that they were the water fairies come to help him. But he could not help thinking of what the otter had said about the great river and the broad sea. And as he thought, he longed to go and see them. He could not tell why, but the more he thought, the more he grew discontented with the narrow little stream in which he lived, and all of his companions there, and wanted to get out into the wide, wide world, and enjoy all the wonderful sights of which he was sure it was full. And once he set off to go down the stream. But the stream was very low, and when he came to the shallows he could not keep under water, for there was no water left to keep under. So the sun burned his back and made him sick, and he went back again and lay quiet in the pool for a whole week more. And then, on the evening of a very hot day, he saw a sight. He had been very stupid all day, and so had the trout, for they would not move an inch to take a fly, though there were thousands on the water, but lay dozing at the bottom under the shade of the stones, and Tom lay dozing too, and was glad to cuddle their smooth cool sides, for the water was quite warm and unpleasant. But toward evening it grew suddenly dark, and Tom looked up and saw a blanket of black clouds lying right across the valley above his head, resting on the crags right and left. He felt not quite frightened, but very still, for everything was still. There was not a whisper of wind, nor a chirp of a bird to be heard. And next a few great drops of rain fell plop into the water, and one hit Tom on the nose, and made him pop his head down quickly enough. And then the thunder roared, and the lightning flashed, and leapt across Vendale and back again, from cloud to cloud, and cliff to cliff, till the very rocks in the stream seemed to shake, and Tom looked up at it through the water, and thought it the finest thing he ever saw in his life. But out of the water he dared not put his head, for the rain came down by bucketsful, and the hail hammered like shot on the stream, and churned it into foam, and soon the stream rose and rushed down, higher and higher, and fouler, full of beetles and sticks, and straws and worms and addle eggs and woodlice and leeches, and odds and ends and omnium gatherums, and this and that and the other, enough to fill 9 museums. Tom could hardly stand against the stream, and hid behind a rock. But the trout did not, for out they rushed from among the stones, and began gobbling the beetles and leeches in the most greedy and quarrelsome way, and swimming about with great worms hanging out of their mouths, tugging and kicking to get them away from each other. And now, by the flashes of the lightning, Tom saw a new sight. All the bottom of the stream alive with great eels, turning and twisting along, all down stream and away. They had been hiding for weeks past in the cracks of the rocks, and in burrows in the mud, and Tom had hardly ever seen them, except now and then at night. But now they were all out, and went hurrying past him so fiercely and wildly that he was quite frightened. And as they hurried past he could hear them say to each other, "We must run, we must run! What a jolly thunderstorm! Down to the sea, down to the sea!" And then the otter came by with all her brood, twining and sweeping along as fast as the eels themselves, and she spied Tom as she came by, and said, "Now is your time, Eft, if you want to see the world. Come along, children, never mind those nasty eels. We shall breakfast on salmon to-morrow. Down to the sea, down to the sea!" Then came a flash brighter than all the rest, and by the light of it, in the 1,000th part of a second they were gone again. But he had seen them, he was certain of it. 3 beautiful little white girls, with their arms twined round each other's necks, floating down the torrent, as they sang, "Down to the sea, down to the sea." "Oh, stay, wait for me!" cried Tom. But they were gone. Yet he could hear their voices clear and sweet through the roar of thunder and water and wind, singing as they died away, "Down to the sea." "Down to the sea?" said Tom. "Everything is going to the sea, and I will go too. Good-bye, trout." But the trout were so busy gobbling worms that they never turned to answer him, so that Tom was spared the pain of bidding them farewell. And now, down the rushing stream, guided by the bright flashes of the storm, past tall birch-fringed rocks, which shone out one moment as clear as day, and the next were as dark as night, past dark hovers under swirling banks, from which great trout rushed out on Tom, thinking him to be good to eat, and turning back sulkily, for the fairies sent them home again with a tremendous scolding for daring to meddle with the water-baby. On through narrow strids and roaring cataracts, where Tom was deafened and blinded for a moment by the rushing waters, along deep reaches where the white water-lilies tossed and flapped beneath the wind and hail, past sleeping villages, under dark bridge arches, and away to the sea. And Tom could not stop, and did not care to stop. He would see the great world below, and the salmon, and the breakers, and the wide, wide sea. And when the daylight came, Tom found himself out in the salmon river. And what sort of a river was it? Was it like an Irish stream, winding through the brown bogs, where the wild ducks squatter up from among the white water-lilies, and the curlews flit to and fro, crying, "Tilly weep, mind your sheep"? And Dennis tells you strange stories of the pêche de mort, the great boogie snake, which lies in the black peat pools among the old pine stems, and puts his head out at night to snap at the cattle as they come down to drink. But you must not believe all that Dennis tells you, mind, for if you ask him, "Is there a salmon here, do you think, Dennis?" "Is it salmon, then, your honour means? Salmon? Cartloads it is of them, then, and ridgemans, shouldering out of water, av ye'd but the luck to see them." Then you fish the pool all over and never get a rise. But there can't be a salmon here, Dennis, and, if you'll but think, if one had come up last tide, he'd be gone to the higher pools by now. Sure then, and your honour's the true fisherman, and understands it all like a book. Why, ye spake as if you'd known the water 1,000 years. As I said, how could there be a fish here at all just now?" "But you said just now they were shouldering each other out of water." And then Dennis will look up at you with his handsome, sly, soft, sleepy, good-natured, untrustable Irish grey eye, and answer with the prettiest smile, "Sure, and didn't I think your honour would like a pleasant answer?" So you must not trust Dennis, because he is in the habit of giving pleasant answers. But instead of being angry with him, you must remember that he is a poor Paddy and knows no better. So you must just burst out laughing, and then he will burst out laughing too, and slave for you, and trot about after you, and show you good sport if he can, for he is an affectionate fellow, and as fond of sport as you are. And if he can't, tell you fibs instead, 100 an hour, and wonder all the while why poor old Ireland does not prosper like England and Scotland, and some other places, where folk have taken up a ridiculous fancy that honesty is the best policy. Or was it like a Welsh salmon river, which is remarkable chiefly, at least till this last year, for containing no salmon, as they have been all poached out by the enlightened peasantry, to prevent the Cythril Sassenach, which means you, my little dear, your kith and kin, and signifies much the same as the Chinese fan kuei, from coming bothering into Wales with good tackle and ready money and civilization and common honesty and other like things of which the Cymry stand in no need whatsoever. Or was it such a salmon stream as I trust you will see among the Hampshire water meadows before your hairs are grey, under the wise new fishing laws, when Winchester apprentices shall covenant, as they did 300 years ago, not to be made to eat salmon more than 3 days a week, and fresh run fish shall be as plentiful under Salisbury Spire as they are in Holyhole at Christchurch, in the good time coming, when folk shall see that, of all heaven's gifts of food, the one to be protected most carefully is that worthy gentleman's salmon, who is generous enough to go down to the sea weighing 5 ounces, and to come back next year weighing 5 pounds, without having cost the soil or the state 1 farthing. Or was it like a Scotch stream, such as Arthur Clough drew in his Bothy, where over a ledge of granite into a granite basin the amber torrent descended, beautiful there for the colour derived from green rocks under, beautiful most of all, where beads of foam uprising mingle their clouds of white with the delicate hue of the stillness, cliff over cliff for its sides, with rowan and pendant birch boughs. Ah, my little man, when you are a big man, and fish such a stream as that, you will hardly care, I think, whether she be roaring down in full spate, like coffee covered with scald cream, while the fish are swirling at your fly as an oar blade swirls in a boat race, or flashing up the cataract like silver arrows out of the fiercest of the foam, or whether the fall be dwindled to a single thread, and the shingle below be as white and dusty as a turnpike road, while the salmon huddle together in one dark cloud in a clear amber pool, sleeping away their time till the rain creeps back again off the sea. You will not care much, if you have eyes and brains, for you will lay down your rod contentedly, and drink in at your eyes the beauty of that glorious place, and listen to the water ouzel piping on the stones, and watch the yellow roes come down to drink, and look up at you with their great soft trustful eyes, as much as to say, you could not have the heart to shoot at us. And then, if you have sense, you will turn and talk to the great giant of a gilly who lies basking on the stone beside you. He will tell you no fibs, my little man, for he is a Scotchman, and fears God, and not the priest. And as you talk with him, you will be surprised more and more at his knowledge, his sense, his humour, his courtesy, and you will find out, unless you have found it out before, that a man may learn from his Bible to be a more thorough gentleman than if he had been brought up in all the drawing-rooms in London. No, it was none of these, the salmon stream at Harthover. It was such a stream as you see in dear old Bewick, Bewick who was born and bred upon them. A full 100 yards broad it was, sliding on from Broad Pool to Broad Shallow, and Broad Shallow to Broad Pool, over great fields of shingle, under oak and ash coverts, past low cliffs of sandstone, past green meadows and fair parks, and a great house of grey stone, and brown moors above, and here and there, against the sky, the smoking chimney of a colliery. You must look at Bewick to see just what it was like, for he has drawn it 100 times with the care and the love of a true North countryman. And, even if you do not care about the Salmon River, you ought, like all good boys, to know your Bewick. At least, so old Sir John used to say, and very sensibly he put it too, as he was wont to do. If they want to describe a finished young gentleman in France, I hear, they say of him, il sait son Rabelais. But if I want to describe one in England, I say, he knows his Bewick. And I think that is the higher compliment. But Tom thought nothing about what the river was like. All his fancy was to get down to the wide, wide sea. And after a while he came to a place where the river spread out into broad, still, shallow reaches, so wide that little Tom, as he put his head out of the water, could hardly see across. And there he stopped. He got a little frightened. This must be the sea, he thought. What a wide place it is! If I go on into it, I shall surely lose my way, or some strange thing will bite me. I will stop here, and look out for the otter, or the eels, or some one to tell me where I shall go. So he went back a little way, and crept into a crack of the rock, just where the river opened out into the wide shallows, and watched for some one to tell him his way. But the otter and the eels were gone on miles and miles down the stream. There he waited, and slept too, for he was quite tired with his night's journey. And, when he woke, the stream was clearing to a beautiful amber hue, though it was still very high. And after a while he saw a sight which made him jump up, for he knew in a moment it was one of the things which he had come to look for. Such a fish! 10 times as big as the biggest trout, and 100 times as big as Tom, sculling up the stream past him as easily as Tom had sculled down. Such a fish, shining silver from head to tail, and here and there a crimson dot, with a grand hooked nose, and grand curling lip, and a grand bright eye, looking round him as proudly as a king, and surveying the water right and left, as if all belonged to him. Surely he must be the salmon, the king of all the fish. Tom was so frightened that he longed to creep into a hole, but he need not have been, for salmon are all true gentlemen, and like true gentlemen they look noble and proud enough, and yet, like true gentlemen, they never harm or quarrel with any one, but go about their own business, and leave rude fellows to themselves. The salmon looked at him full in the face, and then went on without minding him, with a swish or two of his tail which made the stream boil again. And in a few minutes came another, and then 4 or 5, and so on, and all past Tom, rushing and plunging up the cataract, with strong strokes of their silver tails, now and then leaping clean out of water and up over a rock, shining gloriously for a moment in the bright sun, while Tom was so delighted that he could have watched them all day long. And at last one came up bigger than all the rest, but he came slowly, and stopped, and looked back, and seemed very anxious and busy. And Tom saw that he was helping another salmon, an especially handsome one, who had not a single spot upon it, but was clothed in pure silver from nose to tail. "My dear," said the great fish to his companion, "you really look dreadfully tired, and you must not over-exert yourself at first. Do rest yourself behind this rock." And he shoved her gently with his nose to the rock where Tom sat. You must know that this was the salmon's wife. For salmon, like other true gentlemen, always choose their lady, and love her, and are true to her, and take care of her, and work for her, and fight for her, as every true gentleman ought, and are not like vulgar chub and roach and pike, who have no high feelings, and take no care of their wives. Then he saw Tom, and looked at him very fiercely one moment, as if he was going to bite him. "What do you want here?" he said, very fiercely. "Oh, don't hurt me!" cried Tom. "I only want to look at you. You are so handsome." "Ah," said the salmon, very stately, but very civilly, "I really beg your pardon. I see what you are, my little dear. I have met one or two creatures like you before, and found them very agreeable and well behaved. Indeed, one of them showed me a great kindness lately, which I hope to be able to repay. I hope we shall not be in your way here. As soon as this lady is rested, we shall proceed on our journey." What a well-bred old salmon he was! "So you have seen things like me before?" asked Tom. "Several times, my dear. Indeed, it was only last night that one at the river's mouth came and warned me and my wife of some new stake nets which had got into the stream, I cannot tell how, since last winter, and showed us the way round them, in the most charmingly obliging way." "So there are babies in the sea!" cried Tom, and clapped his little hands. "Then I shall have some one to play with there. How delightful!" "Were there no babies up this stream?" asked the lady salmon. "No, and I grew so lonely. I thought I saw 3 last night, but they were gone in an instant down to the sea. So I went too, for I had nothing to play with but caddises and dragonflies and trout." "Ugh!" cried the lady. "What low company!" "My dear, if he has been in low company, he has certainly not learnt their low manners," said the salmon. "No, indeed, poor little dear! But how sad for him to live among such people as caddises, who have actually 6 legs, the nasty things, and dragonflies too. Why, they are not even good to eat, for I tried them once, and they are all hard and empty. And, as for trout, every one knows what they are." Whereon she curled up her lip, and looked dreadfully scornful, while her husband curled up his too, till he looked as proud as Alcibiades. "Why do you dislike the trout so?" asked Tom. "My dear, we do not even mention them if we can help it, for I am sorry to say that they are relations of ours, who do us no credit. A great many years ago they were just like us, but they were so lazy, and cowardly, and greedy, that instead of going down to the sea every year to see the world, and grow strong and fat, they chose to stay and poke about in the little streams, and eat worms and grubs, and they are very properly punished for it, for they have grown ugly and brown and spotted and small, and are actually so degraded in their tastes that they will eat our children." "And then they pretend to scrape acquaintance with us again," said the lady. "Why, I have actually known one of them propose to a lady salmon, the little impudent little creature." "I should hope," said the gentleman, "that there are very few ladies of our race who would degrade themselves by listening to such a creature for an instant. If I saw such a thing happen, I should consider it my duty to put them both to death on the spot." So the old salmon said, like an old blue-blooded hidalgo of Spain, and what is more, he would have done it too. For you must know, no enemies are so bitter against each other as those who are of the same race, and a salmon looks on a trout as some great folks look on some little folks, as something just too much like himself to be tolerated. End of Chapter 3, Part 2. This recording is in the public domain.